All right, music fans, welcome back. Harmless Dave here on the Harmless Dave channel, talking about the end of the classic rock era, and doing it in real time for a few real people just like you and just like me. All right, so I'm going to focus in on this review, just a paragraph of this review about the Kevin Cronin band, and then just make some comments about it. And I'm just doing it for what it's worth. All right, little Buffalo Springfield reference there. All right, sorry, that's just my brain is not functional. All right, it has issues. All right, so the air became steeped in arena-oriented largesse as Kevin Cronin and his band, built primarily of fellow former REO Speedwagon members, took the stage to a synthesizer medley of signature segments from the iconic High Infidelity album. The lion's share of their 75-minute performance was devoted to the performance of said album in its entirety, with Cronin leading the charge with his slightly folks, slightly weathered but still boisterous tenor. It's boisterous. You know, Brian Johnson's very boisterous too. I don't know. Being boisterous doesn't necessarily equate to being good. Um, Babies often are boisterous when they're crying, right? Throwing food at you. I don't know. Moving about the stage between verses or verse lines like a man half his present age. And here we are, right? Really good for his age, Dave. Sounds good for what it is, Dave. Dave, why are you so critical of everybody? I mean, just give them a break. If people want to pay the money to go see them, what's the issue? All right, so I don't want this to be a super long video. I could go off on this for a while, but right out of the gate, he's telling everybody, the reviewer is, that this is built on primarily of fellow former members of REO Speedwagon. Now, when you read that, you could think, oh, is Gary Richrath there? Nope. Greg Philbin there? Nope. Alan Gratzer there? Nope. So who are the former members of REO? Now, I get it. When you join, you're in REO Speedwagon. But the casual reader might infer that maybe this band is made up of classic members of the band. That's not the case. Neil Doughty's not there. And there are people, obviously, that are still alive who could be in this band but have decided to quit or retire or move on to something else. But what they're also suggesting here is they're kind of going along with Kevin Cronin, who put out some stuff like, yeah, it's the same band as last year. Same band. We called ourselves REO last year, but we can't because of this mean guy, Bruce Hall. And Neil, who also, and maybe Alan, I think Neil and Bruce outvoted Kevin. I think that's the way it worked. And so Kevin was no longer able to go out there as REO Speedwagon. Now, in hindsight, what Kevin should have said to those guys is, I'll give you a bigger percentage of the royalties if you allow me to keep the name. And maybe get a lawyer and get the lawyers fighting it out. But that's what I would have said. And then if you wanted to make a case that poor Bruce Hall is hunched over and he's a poor representation of the band or whatever it is, whatever personal difficulty you have with Bruce Hall, you know, you could have probably fought that out in the public square. If it's something that people would sympathize with, then who knows? Maybe you would have won that argument. But the reviewer here, who I think probably got free tickets to go see these bands, it was Kevin and then Styx and Don Felder, because he talks about Don Felder. He also says Don Felder has a smooth voice during this same review, which I like Don Felder. I'm not sure when I think of smooth vocals, I think of Don Felder. I tend to think of like James Ingram or something like that when I think of smooth. But anyway, everybody has a unique way of describing things. All right, let me continue here with the analysis, my amazing analysis here. Moving about the stage between verse lines like a man half his present age. Well, present age is kind of like saying presently here or something. I don't know why you put present age. Half his age is adequate. The word present doesn't really mean anything there. But to infer that old people can't move around, see, this is why everybody comes to me and says, what did you expect? I mean, I for what it is, I just want to see Kevin Cronin one last time. Cool, man. Go see him. See, I saw REO Speedwagon, and that was 15 years ago, and I liked it, and they were still okay. I would say if you saw REO like in the 80s or something, you probably saw them at their peak, early 80s, mid 80s even. And obviously the 70s REO, really amazing. So I don't know. I mean, it's just this whole I can't believe they're still out there. This is great. I have to go see it. That's what this is. And then describing his voice as slightly weathered is like saying Chris Christie is slightly overweight. I mean, just I would go a little beyond slightly weathered because I think any honest listener might hear a little more than the slight weathering. And again, being boisterous hasn't really helped a lot of other guys out there who are trying to compensate for other things by running around and being all vigorous and looking like you're 30 years younger, even though, what's weird is if you look at Kevin Cronin in this picture, apparently he didn't like the way Bruce Hall presented. He didn't think that Bruce looked like a rock star anymore or something to that effect. We still don't know exactly what it is, but we're assuming based on what we've heard. And people have kind of poked fun at what Kevin looks like these days. And it's fine. I mean, he looks the way he looks. I mean, he could look worse, he could look better, but some people think that there's kind of a grandma thing going on there. I mean, even Steven Tyler in certain situations kind of looks like grandma. And it is what it is. It's all right. It's okay. I mean, the main thing is, can they perform the songs? Do they sound good performing those songs? And should you pay lots of money to go see them? And should you believe this review? Should you look at this and go, he's moving around like a man half his age. His tenor is boisterous. His vocals are slightly weathered. See, full disclosure here, when I worked in radio and I was music director, I got calls from record labels all the time. And the record labels would be like, okay, we want you to add this new song by, I don't know, some unknown thing I had never heard of before. And they sent it to me. I listened to it. Didn't really fit our station. But you know what? Do you guys play a lot of Bon Jovi? I'm like, yeah, we play Bon. Same record label. So this is applicable. I'll send you a dozen CDs to give away this weekend for your radio station. You can have a contest or whatever you want to do. Caller number 6 gets the new album by Bon Jovi, but you got to add this song. I'm like, I don't really want to add it. So yeah, we added it and we were playing it at like 2 a.m. We played it at 2 o'clock in the morning, and then we could report that we were playing the song. And I got the CDs. It's payola is what it is. It's like, bribery. You do this and, we'll send you that. And the reviewer, he's going to the show. He's going to go see Kevin Cronin and Styx and Don Felder. And he's got to review it in a way that sounds like he's critiquing, but yet he's really not. By saying slightly weathered, people are going to think, oh, it's a little raspier, a little different, but pretty close to the way we remember it. So it'll be great. We'll have a great time. And there's no mention of like the phrasing, like the pacing. Is Kevin keeping up with the music? Does it sound like he's kind of, as vibrant in other ways as he used to be? and some nights this is better than other nights. Um, Also doing High Infidelity in its entirety. I'm a little tired of these bands just bringing out like Eagles doing Hotel California. Like that's the only album, right? Um, and a lot of people, by the way, aren't familiar with a lot of the deeper tracks on these albums because they're not played anymore anywhere. They're not played. Oh, I have a Spotify. Okay, you have a Spotify. Do you play them or do you just pick out the tracks that you like the most? And a lot of people do that. And I'm bored, all right, but I'm a former radio guy, so I get bored really easily hearing the same stuff over and over again, depending on what it is. There are some songs I never get tired of. Um, there's a song by Martin Briley I could listen to. It's called Salt in My Tears. I could listen to it over and over again for like an hour because it's kind of autobiographical with something that happened to me many years ago. But I love the sentiment in the song, so I could just play it again and that guitar line and um, anyway, I don't know why I talked about that song. Nobody plays that song anymore, by the way. 80s MTV song, so go look it up. Salt in My Tears, Martin Briley. Um, all right, so let me wrap this up. So a lot of these reviews are probably tainted because the guy's going to the show for free, right? And he's got access to everybody, and he probably had friendly conversations with everybody. And even if he didn't talk to them or hang out with them, what's he going to do? Throw everybody under the bus? No, he's going to play nice with it and tell people how great it was. And people keep going to these shows, and they're going because they think it's almost over. In addition to the fact that it's a night out and so forth. And I've listed all the reasons and I've gone into all these details, but the reviewers they're making it worse. Tell the truth. Be like that guy who went to the Hall & Oates or Daryl Hall show. I was going to say Oates, but he wasn't there. It was just Daryl Hall. And I did a video about that and it really blew up. And people are like, shut up. He was great. And I'm like, whew. So you're always going to have that. Either people can't hear or they're way more forgiving and understanding. Why would you want to hurt your ears for 2 hours, right? Why would you want to do that to yourself? And so it makes me think, well, maybe their hearing is off, because as you get older, what'd you say, Sonny? Can't hear you. What'd you say? You like Kevin Cronin? I like him too. He sounded great. All right. Well, you got a whole new market. People with hearing aids, just turn your hearing aid up or down depending on how much of this you actually really want to hear. Holy crap, Batman. So I guess this is another angle for the classic rock world to promote. Make sure you get people who can't hear. And then, again, toss the microphone out to everybody and say, hey, you guys sing it. I don't have to sing this. You can sing it because I can't really hit that note anyway. So, yeah. All right. So, Kevin Cronin, sorry, brother. I think Kevin Cronin could redeem himself if he reaches out to Bruce Hall, maybe after this current year is over, and say, hey, you know what? Let's do something. Let's get the band back together again. Let's get everybody on the same page. I'm sorry about whatever. If Bruce is hunched over or whatever the reason is as to why Kevin doesn't want him there, Kevin will have to accept him for that, But we'll see. Pride is a pretty strong emotion, and people have it, and they're not going to admit that maybe they were a little too harsh, and they should have said, you know what, let's do a farewell tour for REO Speedwagon. And then ask those other guys. I bet you everybody would be receptive to come along for the ride. They don't have to be like main players, but you could do the way, say, Lou Gramm shows up every so often with Foreigner. You could have various old guys sit in for a show here or there. And, people, they can kind of play the lottery. They buy the tickets and they're wonder who's going to be at this show. Could be Neil Doughty, could be Alan Gratzer, should be Bruce Hall all the time. But maybe some old timers, maybe Mike Murphy or Terry Luttrell. could show up here or there, and it would be good for the fans. And yeah, I know those guys, they don't sound that great either. I heard some of the Legacy show, and you know, it was a tribute, and it was there so all the fans could get together and have one last farewell, one last goodbye, and maybe that's the way it should end too. But anyway, folks, be leery when you read these reviews. I would probably watch some video or listen to some audio, word of mouth, people telling the truth about certain things, because just like any form of media today, you really can't trust it. There's always a motivation for people not to tell the truth. So there you have it. God bless everyone, though, and I will be back soon. So stay tuned for more exciting content right here on the Harmless Dave channel.